It's my Christmas mug. Today's Christmas Eve, the year 2024, if you're watching this in the far future, the distant future. This is the bulletin from the church that I go to, the First United Methodist Church in Pittsburgh. And this is the reading from the lighting of the Advent the lighting of the Advent candle, the fourth candle. Last Sunday was the final Sunday of Advent. And so here's the reading. I found this really moving, really thought-provoking. So I thought I would share it as the sort of the season's greetings. Right? Spirit of life and of love, we have disconnected from generosity, from joy, from one another, from creation. Sometimes we feel so alone, and yet you bring us to community to find and to give love immeasurable with a generous spirit and a joyous heart. Help us to remember that all matter is connected and that we are a part of the whole. Show us that we are never alone, for the whole of creation moves in and through us in every moment. May we return this immense love in the compassion, generosity, and justice that we offer to the world, in the true belief that someday this world can become a beloved community that holds us all in care. We light this candle of love. The Sundays in Advent, I'm not going to get very theological here because I'm not well positioned to do so. I'm not a very well informed Methodist, but the season of Advent is preparation for the Nativity, preparation for Christmas Eve. And what I particularly loved about this reading, show us that we are never alone, for the whole of creation moves in and through us in every moment. That the moment of the Nativity, the moment of the sort of, one way of looking at that is the manifestation of the divine in the most everyday life. That's how I think about Christmas, amongst all of the other celebratory aspects of the season. But the sort of the mechanism, I think I'm as influenced in this by the music of Messiaen as I am by actually knowing anything about the Bible or theology, or but in the music of Messiaen we have an embodiment of spirit and a pointer to the divine that comes beyond that. That the whole of creation moves in and through us in every moment. So we have this very special moment, the moment of Christmas, the celebration of Christmas, the Nativity. And I include everything that we do, that there's this image of the birth of the baby Jesus, the Christ. And then our cultural celebration of Christmas with Santa Claus and family, all of that comes in and makes this moment magical because of the attention to the moment that we bring to it. It reminds me of the solstice of 2012. It was when I first started doing blogs because I was, and still am, a devotee of Terence McKenna and the time wave theory. So the solstice of 2012 was a moment anticipated by the Mayan calendar, or at least by Terence McKenna's reading of the Mayan calendar. A moment of peak novelty, perhaps the end of time, right? But certainly a moment to pay attention to. And look, maybe time did end, and we're living in some kind of black hole. But I really do think that when many people pay attention to something at the same time, something very special happens. And when it's shaped and cultivated by messages like this one, may we return this immense love in the compassion, generosity, and justice that we offer to the world, then I think something really does shift. And I can say that as someone who is working on faith or belief. I'm a Buddhist. I grew up as a Methodist in my through high school. That was an important part of who I was, who my family is, still is. It's in the last few years that I've started regularly attending church, and it's because of this kind of message, right? The experience of worship, at least in this congregation with this church, feels to me like a flood of some sensation that feels like this. It feels like love and generosity and compassion. And these are absolutely the core teachings of the Buddha. The whole point of understanding the nature of mind is to alleviate suffering. And the drive to alleviate suffering is compassion. And the mechanism for that in my Buddhist practice is becoming clearer and clearer in my perception of what is real and what isn't, what is story and what is experience, what is karma and what is occlusion, what is wholesome, what is unwholesome. And one thing I know for absolutely sure is that the cultivation of generosity and compassion and kindness, as difficult as that can be, is central to my understanding of my Buddhist practice. And it is central to this expression of Advent. For this year, for 2024, we, my family, at the prompting of my daughter, we did an exercise where we created a storyboard of the previous year. So 2023, we selected a dozen pictures. Said these represent what my experience was of the previous year. And then we all chose a word that would be sort of a beacon for the coming year, for 2024. And the word I chose for 2024 was unfettered, which actually also came from a worship note. And I think my word for 2025, it does need to be a word, not a phrase, if we're going to be true, but it's going to be from this. Maybe it would have to be immense. In every moment, through us, in every moment, all of creation moves. We are a process. This is where the meditation overlaps with this, right? As we meditate and look at natural mind, it becomes apparent that the thinker, the observer, the sense of like a solid self is an uprising of the field of experience. It's not something on the edge of that experience. This is what Sam Harris says. Look, if you feel like you're on the edge of experience, the edge of the moment, take a quick look back at what is feeling that, and see whether it survives that scrutiny. This is the confusing, or I think easily misunderstood, statement about the illusoriness, the illusion, the illusoriness of the self. It doesn't mean that we aren't real. It doesn't mean that I don't have emotions or sensations. But those are an ongoing process it's a very clear intellectual idea, right? But the lived experience of that becomes available in these special moments as well. So I'm not ever going to say that Christmas and Christianity and Methodism are aligned with my Buddhist practice, because they're not. Salvation is very different from enlightenment. But there is a core that is imminently available in the celebration of Advent. And what I hope is, as the rest of the year unfolds, that I keep this with me. Even in the heat of the summer, I'm reminded of this moment. And I would say the same for you as well. I am being more and more explicit in this channel about my desire to prompt, through my own exploration, to prompt similar blessing on all of you, right? Whether we call it the examined life or the inspired life or the devotional life, I find certain teachings or works of art or ideas to be refuge. For me, I find them necessary and reliable as I kind of progress through life, whether that's the sort of the stress and anxiety of working in a job or the relationships in my life. So for you, maybe this text or that work of art or that idea is the thing you need. But more importantly is to look for the thing. Look for the thing. And look for it in Advent. Look for it in the solstice, which just passed by a few days ago. Look for it tonight, Christmas Eve. In the midst of everything else that's going on today, I'm going to take some time and write a short, simple meditation, contemplation of this moment. I pointed over there because that is where I have my Eurorec synthesizer, and I was cleaning it up yesterday, and have something that I'm going to share later today. So keep that in mind, and come back to the channel. Look, it's Christmas, right? So don't come back to my channel tonight, but come back to my channel in the next couple of days, and hopefully there'll be this, and there'll be a short little musical meditation that, in sort of a simple, clear chant kind of way, brings together the season. So keep your wits about you, and please let me know if you have any questions, comments in the chat, and we can go from there. Merry Christmas.